MovieWeb.com.
So now, are you originally from the Pacific Northwest?
No, but I did make a movie named Hype, which is all about the Seattle music scene.
Well, no, I know that, and also I want to ask you about this, is that movie is so rewatchable, which you don't usually find with a documentary. And after doing this today, I want to go back and rewatch this and wondering what your secret is to making a documentary that people actually want to watch more than once.
I love that question. I think because I like to make documentaries not about the actual subject that they seem to be about. And it's not so intentional, but it's just sort of when I get into the subject, I realize, you know what, this looks like a surf film, but it's actually about family. And people relate to it because, you know, if we all have families, or if we have kids at all, this movie, you know, seems like it's about surfing, but it's actually all about fatherhood and motherhood and, like, you know, relationships and how does this work out. And that maybe doesn't make it sound like a very exciting movie either, but it's set in surfing, you know, it's set in this world of surfing. In my movie Hype, just to go back, you know, almost 15 years or 10 years, and it was basically, it seems to be a movie all about the Seattle music scene and about grunge rock. And the truth is, it's about just like American pop culture. It's about cycles of media and exploitation and acceptance and, you know, labeling and packaging movements. And so anybody who's ever lived through that, whether it's Liverpool or the Austin music scene or wherever it is, can kind of relate to it on some level.
Well, with this one, I also thought it was interesting the way you took the narrative, because I'm watching it and I'm thinking these guys never had a fight in their life, or these guys were never upset. And then you take that one scene where they're looking at the photo and they talk about the bruises on the back. I'm wondering how you decided to take that and build it up to that point and then take it in this other direction.
It's just, well, one of the things that's kind of amazing about this family, and it has a lot to do with the way they were raised, is that they're incredibly uninhibited. They're very candid. And look, every family in America and the world has issues and has problems. The question is, do we talk about it? Is it interesting and is it relevant? And in this story, it's really fascinating because the father was his dog was so determined to raise his kids in a certain way and to be strict about that. And in many ways, it was a beautiful thing. And in many ways, it's sort of like, wow, he really did. You know, he was that strict, or he, you know, they lived in this little 24-foot camper, all 9 of them, even all the way through high school, you know. And they didn't even go to high school anyway, so they're in that camper the whole time. They're not surfing. There's just so many sort of extreme facets to how they were raised that it just became a really interesting story to me. Because every kid in the family, I think, both get the great, the dream, the ideal, like, was the best. You know, what a cool childhood. Just like growing up on the beach and surfing all day long. Come on, like, they didn't have to do geometry. And on the other hand, this extreme kind of homeschooling situation where it's like, wow, even you couldn't, like, you never went to high school, or you never could go, like, out on a date, or, like, you know, like, normal kind of, you know, you could never eat fast food, you could never go to the, you know, they had an isolated environment.
Did you guys ever, like, pile at least 9 people in one of these campers just to get a feel of what that's like?
They're all grown now. The Pascowitz family is all grown. I mean, they're in their 30s and 40s. We actually, as a publicity stunt, we floated that idea. We were like, hey, let's just get a camper and get you all back in there. And yeah, that went over like, I can't even think of the right metaphor. It was such a bad idea.
I have one last question. I want to know what was going through your head when you have the camera on David and he starts singing along with the song that's on the computer. I mean, what were you thinking?
Very unexpected. I mean, David is a great guy. I got along with him very well, and he just had a lot to say. Being the first, there's some very biblical kind of components in the story. Sort of the way that they lived in a caravan, the way Doc found himself in Israel, the way the firstborn son kind of carried on the mantle of the whole family. He just had a lot of pressure during all these years that the 9 kids grew up in this way. And so he's the one who was the most to say about it. And I think that he, in some ways, almost used this film as a way to kind of share, like, do you know what I've been through? And when you're making a documentary film and people use you in that way, it's actually a beautiful thing, because you know, the film becomes a conduit for expression. shocked and completely blown away when he just started singing this intense song. And then he kind of started directing to the camera, like right into the camera. And he is a performer. He does do heavy metal. He's in a I can't think of the name of the band right now, but he's a great singer and he plays in a lot of bands. But he just kind of went there. It was a great moment. It was one of those moments where you walk out of the room and go, "Oh, that's really interesting."
I will thank you.